Hey Alexa, who is Aaron Bradley?
Aaron Bradley is an American actor and voice actor.
Hey, I'm Aaron Bradley, and I'm a voice actor here in Southern California.
My interest in performing started back in the first grade, and I was just fascinated with being able to talk into a microphone and perform on stage. It started in school and in community and regional theater, and performing in several local commercials. By the time I was in high school, I created the school's first ever televised morning announcement program, never before seen in the history of the school, and created a weather segment which became hugely popular. I had heard there was a local community college radio station, and it was 10,000 watts, which is huge for radio. And this was owned and operated by the local community college. And I said to myself, I have to become a part of this radio station in some way, shape, or form. And I was going to work to make that happen. I enrolled in classes at the community college, and here was this radio station, and it was part student-based and also community volunteers because it was a community college. And some of the community volunteers were, ex-radio personalities from the Philadelphia broadcast market. I worked my way up to the afternoon drive spot, which was the 3 to 6 p.m. Shift, and I debuted the show called Aaron in the Afternoon. The show was a little bit of talk radio, kind of topic of the day, a little controversy. People would call in, we would, air some of their calls, we would rattle things up, and it caught on. And this soon became the #1 college radio talk show in the nation, and that's an award from the National Association of College Broadcasters. The show eventually caught the ears at 10,000 watts of the Philadelphia Inquirer newspaper, who did a story about me and about the show, and they put it in the Sunday edition of the paper, and that eventually caught the eyes of some of the commercial radio stations. Started doing commercial radio in Atlantic City, and then eventually moved over to Philadelphia radio, which at the time still is the 4th largest radio market in the nation. I'd always wanted to work in television news from a very, very young age. I used to hang out on TV news sets as a 7-year-old and interned with CBS, and was just fascinated with the ability to communicate a message, but do it visually as well, and do it where you're informing people. And I was fortunate after the internship to be signed by the late Conrad Shadlin, who was a grandfather of television news agents back in his day. And I was soon working in small, medium, and large market television stations as a news and weather person, and actually completed the certification in meteorology. Did this for over 10 years. And after about a decade of working in local TV news and moving around the country and getting to work at some really awesome stations, doing that morning shift, which was primarily the Monday through Friday morning shift, news and weather, you're waking up at 2:30 in the morning. It's always funny, I tell people that work in radio, you can just show up and look however you want to look. We used to say a face for radio, but in TV you kind of have to look the part, you have to dress the part. So it's a little bit more work, and when you're waking up at 2:30 in the morning to be on air at 4:30 a.m., it kind of wears on you. I had been doing voiceover the entire time that I worked in television, set up a home studio early on, and was one of the original sign-ups of Voice 123 back in 2003. Started working on Voice 123 and some of the online casting, and was fortunate to be signed by some regional agents. And while I was working in TV, got to voice the Golden Baseball League, which is a minor league baseball team, as the in-stadium voice, and also did several commercial and promo campaigns for the New York Yankees. So after doing that for a decade plus, decided to really pursue the voiceover work full time.
He takes you beyond the spin.
Now don't be bothered by what I say.
After Cindy Carter goes missing, Police pinpoint her cell phone to a rural area.
No, you were in the room with
Sky News. First in breaking news.
Still on air, aren't we?
Knew I would come across someone like you. Someone I could look up to. Someone that has my back. It's good to know that with Airbnb, you can feel at home anywhere. Every hour, the molten lava is forced upward. Stephen Colbert is full of opinions.
In 2013, I was voicing a spot for a national network in India, and it's called Z Cafe. It's pretty amazing in India. A lot of the American talk shows are hugely popular in the country of India. Ellen, for example, is a household name in India, and this network in India showcases all these American talk shows and sitcoms, and it's one of the most popular networks in India. And I'm voicing these promos off and on throughout the day for this network. I'm leaning back to take a drink because my voice is starting to get really dry, and as I lean back, I feel this excruciating pain just radiating down into my arms and into my hands. And I knew at that point something was wrong. I had had back pain, but I knew at this point that's not normal. And I went in for an x-ray. The x-ray showed massive bone spurring. And at that point, they deferred me into an MRI. The MRI showed not one, but 3 herniated discs that were so badly herniated, they were pushing into my spinal canal. I was told by the neurologist and the neurosurgeon that surgery was the only option. And if I was in the ocean and a wave hit me, I could be paralyzed. If I fell, I could be paralyzed. If somebody pushed me, or I'm, hiking, or I fall or slam the brakes, I could be paralyzed because those discs could push and penetrate from the spinal canal into the spinal cord. And at that point, I knew that my life would forever change. I went in for surgery. It was a 5.5-hour surgery on the operating table, where they obviously open your neck up from the front and pull out your herniated discs and put some bone graft where the discs were and a titanium plate. And you do this to help yourself, and you do this so you're no longer in harm's way. And the surgery went well, or so I thought. I woke up from surgery after about 6 hours of being under, and I realized that I was not really able to talk. My voice just didn't sound right. And I had asked some of the doctors, and they said, in all likelihood, this is from the breathing tube that they stick down your throat so you can breathe for the 5.5 hours that you're getting your surgery. And I was staying in the hospital for observation for about 48 hours. And during that time, I'm hoping that the voice is going to come back. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to regain, my ability to talk normally. And I didn't. After about a week went by, then 2 weeks went by, then 3 weeks went by, and I'm still not able to talk. And you realize at that point something that you started doing as a 7-year-old is put on hold. I went to some voice specialists, and sure enough, the breathing tubes that were pushed back were pushed in so forcefully, and I guess so far, that it damaged my windpipe, and it had also affected the vocal cords. I was determined to see this through and to try and train to regain my ability for those vocal cords to eventually gain their strength back. And it was a much longer process that turned into months of fear. And when you're a voice talent, you now have the obligation to painfully tell your clients that you're no longer able to do the work. And you're thinking back to those days that you were a little 7-year-old boy with your dad on the set, talking into that microphone, knowing that this is what you always wanted to do, and in a heartbeat it was taken away. After month, several months went by, and I was beginning to regain my vocal ability, and my vocal cords were healing, and the windpipe was healing. My ability to breathe normally had returned back to where it was. And this was a process of daily exercise when you're losing your ability to speak. We call it vocal paralysis. And anybody can really overcome that. You can overcome that. It's learning about the proper exercises to really strengthen your vocal cords. Not just rest your vocal cords, but kind of work them out. And using the workouts that are available online for people that have vocal paralysis. Over time, you can regain your ability to speak normally and perhaps even better than you were prior to the vocal paralysis. And you can do it, if you're lucky, without surgery. And that's what I was able to do. When you go through something like this, I think you come out stronger. You come out with a deeper appreciation for the fact that you can lose all of this in a matter of minutes. This isn't just our livelihood for many of us. This is our passion. This is something we've done and wanted to do for years, some of us for our whole lifetime. And we are portraying a message, if we're acting, if we're broadcasting, if we're voice acting, using your vocal cords. And I don't ever take that for granted, and no actor should take that for granted. Our vocal cords are a huge part of us, but it's a huge part of what we do. And I think when you realize that, this is all worth fighting for. Life is worth fighting for. Your ability to be an actor, a performer, is worth fighting for. It's never worth giving up and saying, this is another barrier, another obstacle. Vocal paralysis is something that I overcame, and it's something that anybody with the right amount of determination and the right amount of research and knowledge can overcome as well.